Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime. In today's video, we're going to be starting a new reading vlog. In this video, I'm going to be reading 3 queer historical fiction books and I am so excited to get started. I don't really have a lot of housekeeping to talk about today. This is a pretty self-explanatory topic. We are reading 3 books that are queer and that are historical fiction. So let me go through my TBR really quick. So the first book we're going to be picking up is Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Albin. This is a Regency book, kind of in the style of Bridgerton, and in it we're following our main characters, Beth and Gwen. Beth and Gwen are both debutantes during this season. They're trying to find husbands, but they find each other and they find a friendship in each other and maybe a little bit more in each other. But it is the 1800s. How will they ever be together? Well, maybe if they can matchmake their single mom and single dad, get them together, maybe they'll have a shot at being together. So we have a sapphic Regency romance mixed with a Parent Trap. This sounds like such a win. I'm so excited to pick this one up. I also am planning on reading You Should Be So Lucky by Cat Sebastian. This ugly sticker, let me see if I can get that off. Okay, that actually came off quite nice, thankfully. This is the second book in Cat Sebastian's Mid-Century NYC series. I read the first book in January. We Could Be So Good. I loved it. One of my favorite books of the year so far already, so I cannot wait to pick up this second book. And in this book, we're following Mark, who was a reporter that we met in the last book that worked at the newspaper, and we're also following Eddie O'Leary. So Mark is being tasked by the newspaper to do like a sports column, report on something sports, and he decides to do this article series on this new baseball player named Eddie O'Leary, who is kind of getting a lot of bad press for being a brat and throwing temper tantrums in public because he was traded to this team that he didn't want to be traded to. And so Mark and Andy from the last book are kind of like, there must be more to this story. Let's see what's going on with this guy. And so Mark starts reporting on Eddie, and I believe that they have a bit of a romance. So we've got historical fiction, sports romance, all the good stuff. So I am excited to get into this one as well. And then the last book I'm going to be picking up is one that I've been wanting to pick up for a while, and that is Backwards to Oregon by Jay. This is a WLW romance set on the Oregon Trail. The Oregon Trail is my Roman Empire. It is my strange piece of history that I know a lot about, that I am fascinated by for some reason. A sapphic romance set on the Oregon Trail sounds right up my alley. I believe one of the characters in this book has been living as a man for a long time and wants to go on the Oregon Trail, can't do it as a single person, so they meet this other woman who's a single woman that wants to go on the trail, and they like fake marry so that they can travel together, I believe. And of course, they end up falling in love. At least that's what I'm assuming. Once I get into it, I will let you know if I'm right or not. This one plus these 2 are what I'm planning to read. Like I said, we are going to be starting with this one, so let's just get right into it. Hello, I'm in Costa Rica currently, and I wanted to update you because I did start Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Albin today during my downtime. So this is a sapphic Regency romance between these 2 girls who meet during their season, and they figure out that there is some history between their parents. They both have single parents. It's just Beth and her mother and Gwen and her father, and so they decide to Parent Trap style try and set their parents up with one another, and this is like a secret plan for them as well, because they don't really want to get married, and this will buy them some time because Beth is having to marry for money kind of, and Gwen doesn't want to marry at all. Their evil plan is that if their parents get together, neither of them will have to get married, and I think along the way we're going to get a bit of a romance between the 2 of them. I am currently like 100 pages into this one. It's like a little over 350, so I'm a good chunk in, maybe like a third, a little under, maybe a quarter, I don't know, somewhere between a third and a quarter. But I'm actually really enjoying it so far. It is really well written. I'm really enjoying the characters. I really like their banter. I like their friendship and their connection together, and the like hijinks that they're putting their parents through are funny so far, and I think they're about to ramp up, so I'm really excited to dive back into it and keep reading. I'm really having a fun time with this one, and what if every book in this vlog is a 5-star like my last sci-fi fantasy reading vlog? That would be crazy. I also have good luck with historical romances, so this might work in my favor. I'm really enjoying this one so far. I'm gonna go read the rest of it by the pool. That is my plan for the rest of the day. It is like midday. We just got to Costa Rica, so I'm so excited for a layover like this. It's been a while since I've just had a nice like relaxing layover, so that's what I'm gonna go do. Let's go. Hello, I have finally finished Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Albin. And I loved this book. I really loved it. I think I read it first because I was thinking maybe it would not be my favorite. It's a strong contender. I ended up rating this one 5 stars. I really fucking enjoyed it. I thought it was so good that, like, thinking back on it, there's nothing I would change about it. I thought it was perfect, honestly. I loved Beth and Gwen so much, and I really enjoyed their kind of friends to lovers romance progression, finding out what this means for them in this world that they live in, and also their parents' romance was adorable. Them trying to get their parents together was literally so cute, and I was rooting for them, their parents, just as hard as I was rooting for Beth and Gwen. Also, the freaking epilogue in this book made me want to pick up the next book in this series immediately. I'm like, do I add that one to this reading vlog as well? No, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I loved that ending as well. I was like, okay, I see where this is going. I see. Yeah, this was so cute. I loved the setting. I loved the like descriptions of the dresses. I thought it was like funny. I thought it was well written. I loved all of the characters. I loved the found family that we can see start to form. Definitely has found family trope going on in here. I do want to mention one thing. This definitely reads more contemporary than historical in terms of like speech patterns and like things like that. That didn't bother me though personally, but I do think it bothers some readers, as I was gathering from some of the Goodreads reviews. So I just want to throw that out there. If you're interested in this book, that is something to be aware of. It didn't bother me. I thought it was fun and cute, and I don't care. That is something people mentioned that bothered them. I don't know. I thought it was beautiful. I loved the chemistry. I loved the romance. I loved these characters. I loved everything about it. So this was a 5-star book for me, and I can't wait to continue with this vlog. Are we gonna have another vlog with all 5-star books? It's very possible. It's very possible. We will see what happens. So loved this one, and I think I'm probably gonna start You Should Be So Lucky next. But if I do, I will be back and I will let you know for sure. And I'll talk to you once I'm into the next book in this vlog. Hello friends, I'm back with an update. So I am currently 50% of the way through Backwards to Oregon by Jay. I'm really enjoying this one too. It is a really super interesting, to me specifically, I think. But also just in general, it's a really well done book so far. To get into the like nitty gritty of what it's exactly about, we're following our two main characters, Luke and Nora. Luke is a woman who's been living as a man for an undisclosed amount of time, but it seems like quite a while, like at least like 10 to 15 years, like all of her adult life. She does use like she, her pronouns, or at least the author does in the narrative of Luke's kind of chapters, but Luke goes by Luke, is a man socially for all intents and purposes. I'm not sure if we're gonna get more into their gender identity. I'm gathering from the narrative, from what Luke says about themselves, that they are at the very least gender non-conforming. I think maybe the author is trying to be historically accurate and that there's not like a ton of words or information out there about gender identity. Luke, though, has mentioned that they don't feel like a woman, that they are a man, but they also are connected to their womanhood in some ways. Luke is a very, very interesting character and somebody that I'm really enjoying learning more about. The whole gender conversation is kind of complicated because I don't feel like the book really tackles it in its like marketing or description or otherwise. I feel like it's more of something that the reader gathers, like from the context clues, from the narrative, from what Luke is saying. I think it's a very interesting conversation, and you'll find a lot of reviewers talking about that in their reviews of this book. So this is marketed as like a sapphic WLW book, but I don't really feel like it is. Luke is their own character, a gender non-conforming person. Like, it just is way too simple to say that this book is WLW. Like, that's not really what it is. So I did want to kind of touch on that conversation because I do think it's interesting. I do think it's important, and I don't want people to go into this book not knowing that, because I feel like it's a very important piece of the puzzle here. So we're following Luke and Nora. Nora, on the other hand, is a lady of the night. She works at this brothel, and that's how Luke runs into her, because Luke is friends with the madam of the brothel. Luke has been in the army for a while, left the army, wants to go on the Oregon Trail out west, claim land in Oregon, start a new life, start over. But in order to be more respected in the wagon train, to not stand out, and also to be able to claim more land when they get to Oregon, they decide they need to get married. And so that's where Nora comes in. Nora is one of the trusted girls at the brothel, is recommended to Luke by the madam, and Luke is very intrigued by Nora, but Luke very much like protects their secret with everything that they have. They are not going to reveal this even to Nora, who they are trusting to marry. It's kind of like a business arrangement, so Nora can get out of the situation in the brothel. Nora also has a daughter, and so her daughter's getting older. She doesn't really want her to know what she does for work. She doesn't really want her to continue to grow up in this environment. Nora does kind of also jump at the chance to start over and start a new life, even though she doesn't know Luke at all. And so they begin their journey on the Oregon Trail, and honestly, like, the first part of the narrative is very much feeling like you're playing the Oregon Trail game. Like, each chapter is just like a little, almost like a little like snapshot of what the day is like. It's very much hooking up the oxen, eating the hardtack, being on the trail. Like, if it's not something that you have a special interest in, like I do, I don't know how you would feel about the narrative. I'm eating it up. I love it. I think it's fabulous and fantastic and so interesting, and it's such an interesting setting to put these characters in, because Luke has this like huge secret that still is even keeping from Nora. Like, Nora still doesn't know what's going on at the 50% mark, which was not really how I thought it was going to go down. I thought she was going to be on Luke's side and like keeping, I don't know, they're still like getting to know each other. At the 50% mark, they're very now just kind of starting to like give in to their attraction to each other, to see where it goes and to learn more about one another. And the tension is building really well. Like, it's a really well done slow burn thing. And like, don't get me wrong, I love reading smut, but I do, like, my favorite books do tend to be a slow burn romance, because you just get so much more build up, and so then the payoff feels so much more worth it. And I feel like that's really happening in this book. There is so much going on. I'm so excited to keep reading and to read to the end of this book. I plan to probably do that tonight, so I will jump back into it after I get off this clip with you guys. Really enjoying it. And one of my favorite parts too is seeing the relationship develop between Luke and Nora's daughter. I just think it's a very like wholesome, very cute. Luke is just very naturally closed off and untrusting of people, but like, children don't get that vibe. They don't know. Amy, like, is just, she's like 3, so she just kind of accepts that her mother says they have to trust Luke now, and starts seeing Luke as like this father figure. And Luke is like, I don't know what to do with kids. There's just this child around me now. And it's just really cute, like, watching their kind of outer shell break down and them form this relationship with Amy. I just think it's so cute. I do tend to like kids and romance books. Like, I just enjoy like seeing characters who don't have a blood relation like form a parental relationship with a kid. Like, I just think it's special and cute to have this like found chosen parental figure, found chosen family. I just think it's adorable. I like it a lot. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of the story, and yeah, this is just really working for me. It's really well done, really well written. The romance is building at like a lovely pace, and I'm very excited to see these characters like finally get together. I know this is a series though, which is kind of scaring me. I don't really want it to end on a cliffhanger, and I feel like I don't know what to expect from this author, because I feel like she's kind of in the vein of like Kindle Unlimited indie pub romances, but I also feel like she is also not. Like, I feel like she's like halfway between a traditional romance author and like an indie pub romance author, even though these are indie pubs. Like, just in the way that they're written, the pacing and everything, like, I don't know. With an indie pub romance book is what I'm trying to say. HEAs, HFNs guaranteed, pretty much. Traditional romances, not necessarily. So I'm like worried on which side she's gonna fall, because I don't know this author, and I'm like, oh god, am I gonna have to read this entire series to finally get a happy ending? Am I ready for that commitment? I don't know. So those are the things that are going through my head. But long story short, I'm really enjoying this book, and I can't wait to get into it and finish it. I definitely think that this could be another 5-star, so we will see how it goes, and I will let you know. Hello friends, I have an update for you. So the other night I did finish Backwards to Oregon by Jay. I really liked this book, but I really think that I built it up in my head too much. I really do. I can't even tell you like what it is that's making me hesitant to be like, oh, new 5-star favorite, because I loved the setting. I loved the details about the Oregon Trail, even if they were like a little repetitive. Everything felt accurate. I did really love the relationship between our two main characters. Like, the pining was really intense. The sex scenes were really beautiful. The feelings were there. Like, I was really in. I was really invested. I just feel like it was missing something for me that I can't put into words, and I think it's just a feeling. Like, I was on Goodreads, this book is listed as being like 465 pages, so I was really expecting like a long book, but when I downloaded the Kindle version, it's only like 320 pages or something, so it's fairly actually short. With the repetition of the like constantly traveling, that got a little bit boring, and also the relationship is really slow burn. and I wished we had more time of them being together. I kind of wish that Nora had known Luke's secret the whole time. I am not sure I like loved how, I don't know, I can't even explain like what it is that's making me a little bit hesitant about this book. I do think that I'm gonna end up giving it 4.5 stars because I really did love it. Like, it was really good, and the romance did make me all fluttery, and I liked the concept and everything about it, but I think I was just really expecting it to be a 5-star, and I don't feel like I got a 5-star feeling from it. I just didn't. I don't know how to explain why. I don't know. Something was missing. Something was missing. You guys get it. Like, a 5 star is a feeling, you know, and I'm disappointed that this one like wasn't, but it's so close to being a 5-star. I still loved it. Like, I still think it's definitely worth reading, and I think maybe if you go in with more tempered expectations than mine, you might find a new 5-star favorite book. I don't know. A lot of people love this book. I love this book. I don't know. I just wanted it to be like a 6-star book for me, and it wasn't. That's okay. Not every book can win. This just felt like my perfect book, and on paper it is. I don't know. There's just something about it that it wasn't perfect, but it was still really good. So I would recommend reading. Backwards to Oregon Side. I did actually start You Should Be So Lucky by Cat Sebastian as well, and I was at jury duty the other day. This book is going to be a 5-star favorite, I'm sure, and it's going to have to compete for Best Book of the Year with its predecessor, We Should Be So Good, because this book is amazing. Cat Sebastian is definitely one of my favorite authors of all time. There is just something about her writing that is so good. It is so freaking good. It's just beautifully constructed. Her word choice is incredible. The way she puts thoughts together and creates her characters in her dialogue is just so quietly gut-wrenching, if that makes sense. Like, it's subtle, but part of that subtlety is what makes it hit so hard. Like, I sometimes am just reading a line and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe her mind created this combination of words that makes me feel all of these feelings. It's crazy. And I just love it. I love it so much. In this story, we're following Eddie, who is a professional baseball player, Mark, who is a reporter. And we met Mark in the first book. He's friends with Nick and Andy from the first book. We're learning more about him in this book. It turns out that he lost his partner like 2 years ago, and so he's really been just reeling from grief. Andy, who owns the newspaper, is like, please, I need you to do this sports feature on this new baseball player, Eddie, who was transferred to this New York team. He learned about the trade in the locker room while cameras were on him, and he basically was like, that team sucks, like, I can't believe I'm being traded, the manager is an alcoholic. Like, he said all this bad stuff, so he comes in with this really bad impression of being like this kid who threw a temper tantrum. And I think that there's a lot more to the story, and that's kind of what Andy wants Mark to get out of Eddie, is like, what is there more to this story? Like, why did you act like that? Why? And he's also in this batting slump. He hasn't hit anything when he was like up for Rookie of the Year the year before, so he's like really struggling. And so Mark goes and starts to form this professional relationship with him, but obviously they both are very attracted to each other. They find out that they're both queer, and like things are progressing from there. Really, like, nothing has happened yet at the 50% mark. It's all just been them getting to know each other, them getting to trust each other, learn about one another. It's definitely a slow burn, but it's such a good bird. It's such a good bird. I just love Mark and Eddie. There's definitely like a little bit of a grumpy sunshine dynamic, and I wouldn't necessarily say that Mark is grumpy. He's just a New Yorker. Like, he's just very like blunt and straightforward and not there to coddle you, but he really cares a lot about Eddie, and he's like, oh shit, like, what's going on? And the way their relationship is developing is just so sweet, and I can't wait for them to like actually get together and to see how things are going to work out. And I can't wait for Eddie to be ingratiated into the queer found family that's going on with these characters in this book. I can't wait for him to meet all of Mark's friends, because Eddie really needs more friends. So yeah, it's really cute. It's really good. I love it's set in the 1960s. I think I mentioned that maybe in the intro, but so it's historical fiction. It's a romance. It's also got sports involved. You know, I love a sports romance. I just did a whole video about all my favorite sports romance books, and it's fun to read this one after that too, because this is such a good example of a good sports romance. I don't know. It just adds an extra layer of like tension to the concept of like a queer romance. I don't know. It's good. I love it. It's so beautifully written. I've already marked down a few lines that I love. I need to go and like actually annotate them. That's what I do when I dog ear the page. And I underline my book. That's what I do when I don't have my annotating supplies with. It's so good so far. I love it. I can't wait to finish it. And once I do, I will come back with my final updates. And I'm glad I saved this book for last, because I just have a feeling it's gonna be my favorite this vlog, even though this has been a very successful vlog, but I think this one will probably take the cake. I love it. It's so good. Hello, time for an update. You guys, this fucking book is so good. This is my favorite book of the year. I'll say it now. It's my favorite book of the year. I don't think I'll read a better book all year. I really don't. This is the best. This one right here. This is the best book ever. It's so good. It was so fucking good. You guys told me. You told me. I believed you. But I'm glad I finally read it for myself, because the way this book is the best book I've ever read. It is my perfect book. I don't know. There was just something about it that was just so good. It spoke. I can't even talk. It just spoke to me so deeply. Cat Sebastian may be my favorite writer of all time. Like, the way she wrote this book was so incredible. I know I said this in the last clip, but I'm like, how in the world does she think to put like these specific words together to just stab me in the fucking heart? I literally, like, I haven't like fully annotated it, but I annotated the fuck out of this book. You can't tell because there's no highlighter, it's just pen. There were so many lines that I was like, that is the best thing that's ever been written. That is so beautiful. That is incredible. My heart is just breaking into a million little pieces. It was so good. It was so good. It was so incredible. I'm so glad I read this book. I don't even know like how else to explain like how incredible it was. It just was, okay? Like, Mark and Eddie are just so perfect for each other. I love how they balance each other out. Mark is so like stereotypical New Yorker and Eddie is so like stereotypical Midwestern. Like, Eddie is just so sweet to Mark and so like optimistic and like not jaded, where Mark is like very jaded, very prickly, but Eddie just like softens him up like butter, and it's just so sweet. It's like the sweetest thing ever to read about. I loved their relationship. I loved the role that Mark's like partner like played in their relationship too. I thought it was so healthy and so lovely and so wonderful to see how Eddie nowhere near like replaced William, but helped Mark deal with his grief and like asking about William and making like a space for William in their relationship. It was just beautifully and elegantly and wonderfully done. It was incredible. And I loved the cameos of all of the characters from the first book in this story. I feel like a lot of times when authors have like interconnected standalone books and they do cameos of other characters, those characters become caricatures of themselves because they're not the focus of the story or the scene. Cat Sebastian said, no, we will not be doing that. My characters are my characters. They are perfectly, wonderfully, exactly formed, saying the exact things that they would in the first book. And I can just feel like how much Cat Sebastian cares about these characters and wants the best for them. And this book is so polished, but in a way that feels just, it doesn't feel sanitized, but it's so polished. Does that make sense? The writing is just next level. No other romance writer is as talented as Cat Sebastian, in my opinion. Just the word choice, the sentence structure, the plotting, the pacing, the dialogue, like, it's just all artistic is the best word I can describe it, but like, it's perfect in the way that it conveys the feelings, the emotions, all of that good stuff. Like, she just knows what the fuck she's doing, and she knows how to fucking break my heart, but in a good way. Like, there's really not even that much angst in this book, but it's just so, I just felt everything so deeply, and that is the mark of like an amazing book for me. Like, this is not just a romance book. It's not just a historical romance book. Like, this is an incredible book, an incredible story. I loved it so much. I loved it so much. Like, it has those elements that I love, but it's also just like such a well-written story. And I just was rooting for both Eddie and Mark so hard. And I loved seeing how they grew around each other and together, and it was just so beautiful. This is such a beautiful book. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. Please read this book. Please. I want everyone to read it. It's so good. It's so good. Alright, I'm trying to wrap up this vlog, but I'm like, what did I even read? Well, obviously I read this. Was it that forgettable? I know it wasn't, because I know I loved every book in this vlog. I know I read Backwards to Oregon, and I know I read You Should Be So Lucky. Oh, I read, here it is. I found her. Okay. So I read these two plus Backwards to Oregon in this reading vlog, and it was such a successful reading vlog. I gave Backwards to Oregon 4.5 stars. Don't Want You Like a Best Friend 5 stars. You Should Be So Lucky 6 stars. Very high rated reading vlog overall. Very successful reading vlog. I do think Backwards to Oregon, probably my least favorite by just like a tiny margin, just for the reasons I talked about. Like, I just felt like the romance was kind of rushed at the end. I wished it had developed more throughout the book. Like I wish things had more started to happen like around the 50% mark, and they really weren't. It took a while. It was like a very slow burn, and I just didn't love all of the like not trusting each other things that were happening. But overall, a really good book. I loved the like Oregon Trail aspect. I did really like the relationship. Like the chemistry was definitely there. It was really palpable. So I did really like that one. Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, another sapphic historical romance. This one, Regency. I loved this one so dearly. I loved Beth and Gwen's relationship. I loved the parent trap aspect of them getting their parents together. I thought that was cute and just so sweet. And their relationship together was so sweet. And another one where the chemistry was palpable, so good. And then of course, You Should Be So Lucky, my favorite by far. I loved it so much. It was so good. It was so good. Definitely like 6-star favorite book this one is. So that is my historical romance reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I definitely would recommend all 3 of these books if you haven't read any of them. Please do so immediately because they are all incredible queer historical romances. Loved them all. Yeah, I think that's all for me. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here. Don't forget to do the fun YouTube stuff. Subscribe to my channel if you would like. I post videos exclusively about queer books over here. So I would love to have you. Also like this video if you liked it and leave me a comment down below. I love talking to you guys. I love hearing your thoughts. So please let me know. I also linked these 3 books in the description if you're interested in purchasing them, reading them yourself. These are affiliate links, earn a tiny commission, no pressure to you, just there for your convenience. You can also follow me on all social media. Those links are in the description as well. And I think that's everything. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.